I've owned Wolverine statues, sometimes in his yellow costume, as you see right here. A few different brown costumes. Of course, there's Weapon X versions. X-Force versions. What about different parts of Wolverine's life? For example, later the Age of Apocalypse. Or maybe when he's just kind of old man Logan. What about the earlier parts of his life, when he was a soldier? Or a samurai? Well, today he is truly a wild beast in the woods. That's right, another Wolverine statue. However, it is incredibly unique, and as a spoiler before we get to the review, he's incredibly badass. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. We are looking at a custom Wolverine kit. So let me break all that down for you. So Wolverine is a Marvel character, which if you don't know that, get the fuck out of here. But a kit is an unpainted statue. As you can see, this one was already painted because this is actually the prototype. But they are making 35 of these, and I'll talk more about that later, of these unpainted kits of Wolverine, and I kind of call it a barbarian, where he's really out in the woods, he's decided to leave society. And as you can see, there's tons of display options we're going to look at. So this is a custom, means it's a private unlicensed commission. That's why they're only making a few of them. And it is not approved by Marvel. Now, if you're interested in this, stay tuned for later in the video and I will tell you how to get one. Because there are a few left. But we're going to review this one and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's actually the prototype. And I actually have a kit, an unpainted kit on order that Mrs. X was going to paint. However, I love this one so much, I'm trying to see if I can trade up and pay for this one instead. I don't think they're going to go for it, but I'm trying very hard. So anyway, Wolverine, as you know, Logan, is kind of an interesting cat. He's not really a cat, although he does have cat-like features. I didn't mean to say cat. I fucking hate cats. And if that offends you, that's fine. Go feed your 50 fucking cats and then cry to your mom. I'm in a bad mood. Maybe it's the ferocity or the ferociousness of Wolverine just coming on to me. But we're going to do a review on him. Absolutely phenomenal. So this is professionally painted, so we're going to do a few tweaks on the review because you'd expect it to be amazing, and it absolutely is. But we're going to do all the traditional categories, starting with concept. And this is where Wolverine, okay, has been done so many different times by licensed companies and by custom companies. I think I've owned about 15 to 20 different Wolverine statues, and right now I still own, well, probably more than that, honestly. I still own probably about 15 or so. And I'm going to own either this one right here or a kit that's coming in, because I think it's going to look great with that soldier and samurai. I actually posted photos of all of them together on the Extreme channel social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Check those out in the link in the description below. But starting with concept of him, so like I said, I kind of feel this is Wolverine Barbarian on his own. He's left society, he's going to live in the woods. On the base, you have a wooded forest, and it's snowy. When we think Wolverine, we think Canada, where he's from. We think that it's cold. And he's out in the woods here, and there's a few things going on. He's definitely in the middle of a battle with some natives who are shooting arrows at him. We see that on the base. We see a skull behind him, so maybe he killed that skull, or maybe who knows what's going on. But as you move up, he clearly fashioned his own clothes. So very warm clothes on the bottom, but he decided his torso was really hot. But he has a lot of tools on there, because while he could use his claws for everything, that's not necessarily the case. He has bones and other things holding it together, furs from animals. He has a horn and a hatchet. Looks very, very cool. Like I said, really makes you think primitive. Someone out living in the forest. And then, of course, he has his torso showing. And there's a few different torsos, as you saw, we'll talk about during design. Right now, I have him with his bone claws. Again, it's a switch-out option. Tons of switch-out options. He has some wrappings around his wrists that just really add to the motif of the statue. Some necklaces. Again, some more teeth and bones. And then the portrait I have displayed here, there are 4 portraits. This one he actually has a wolf head that he has made into a hat. Again, his head must be cold, but not his torso. But he is screaming in rage. So you assume he's in the middle of a battle, or maybe he just killed somebody, or maybe, like I said, he's just gone full Wolverine, full animal, and he's out in the forest screaming. So I love this. I think it shows who Wolverine really is. I think the things they incorporated tell a huge story, and a story that hasn't been told before. So anyway, I think it's a 5 out of 5 on the concept. I absolutely love this. Well done. And what's cool with all these different display options you see right here, it still tells the same concept, but it tells it a little bit differently. So before we look at those though, here's the unboxing and assembly, and keep in mind this is the prototype, so things are a little bit different than the actual kits will be. Not to mention the kits won't be painted. Very large box for a 1/4 scale, but it makes sense because it has all the additional switch outs we're going to look at. So the way it was packed in there was sideways, but it was still straps in the traditional black foam, and tons of layers, as you can see right here. Some of them were multi-layers, so there were multiple pieces within each layer. You saw the bottom of the base there. It didn't have a sticker again because this is the prototype / production piece. And here's the next layer. And the most difficult part of this is when you have this many layers is to remember what layer goes where, especially if you're ever going to repack something like this up. Alright, so many different display options, and before we get into them, what I love is when people do a lot of display options, I love when they do display option holders. So here, they've actually done them as totem poles, which adds to the statue even more. Genius. The one thing I wish differently, you saw one held the additional torso and one held the heads. They should have combined them into one, where they could have held the additional heads down here. I think that would have been a big win. Not really a negative, because I'm glad that they actually provided them. But let's look at all the different display options, because there's a ton. So 4 portraits, the first one, probably my favorite, the wolf head, and he's screaming. Next one is a wolf head. He's not screaming, but kind of sneering. A traditional Wolverine portrait, which you'd expect. And then you have one painted, war painted. Now 2 different torsos. The first torso I thought I wouldn't like, but it's actually my favorite. His arms are back like this. Now with either of them, you can switch out the claws. You can either have bone claws or kind of corroded metal claws, so they're not as clean as you normally see in Wolverine. Now here's the other torso where he's kind of lunging forward. He's about to stab somebody or roaring into the air. And you'll see this has arrows in it. Now you can actually take out the arrows and they will just be wounds. Now this really makes you think, hey, he's fighting. And both of them also have a necklace option. So you can put a sculpted necklace. There's 2 of them. Now one other tweak I wish they did with the switch outs, I wish arrows could have gone into this torso as well. Because this one, it looks like he's fighting. So I think that's a little bit of a miss. I don't think it's a negative. It's just something I would have liked to see on top of that. But I love all those display options. Now, even for the prototype, everything went together really well on this. Now, one thing, you see the lunging pose. I'm really glad they didn't make it a whole circle base. So even though the lunging pose takes up a lot of room, I appreciate what they did with the base. So let's try and measure it. So if you say that's the deepest part, it's about 18 inches. Tallest part is about 20 because Wolverine's short. And then the widest part is pretty negligible. It's about 9 inches. This torso display goes up to about 14 and a half inches depending which portrait you have. So very displayable despite the fact he's lunging and that takes up a lot of room. I like that. So really I can't find any faults with the design either. I think I have to give it a 5 out of 5. Like I said, there's things that could have been done differently, but what they offered was so above and beyond. Now, we're going to do some close-up video of the paint and sculpt. I'm not going to rate the paint. It's a 5 out of 5. Well, I guess I am going to rank it. But it's beautifully done. And while we'll look at the paint, we're more going to grade the sculpt. So let's do that. All right, so much to look at. I think we will start with the portraits. Here's my favorite one. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about the paint, but it's phenomenal. Even look at the eyes and the skin color and the hair on top of it. This wolf's head is out of this world. Look at this. The intricacy, not only on the sculpt and the fur, but the paint he did around it looks so good. A glistening effect on the gums, and you'll find that on Wolverine, even in the tongue there. Wow. Yeah, definitely my favorite by far, this one, not only because it goes with the story, but I like the look of it. I like that they offered this war painted version. However, I'm not as big a fan of the actual sculpt of it. And you'll see that with the normal heads as well. Just grab that right now. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this portrait. I don't like the look of it. You know, and while the paint's done really well, it's not for me. And kind of the same expression on this one. So it's more, maybe more the expression. But again, the wolf looks absolutely amazing. Totem pole looks good too. I like the wood. I wish that the base wasn't a museum style base down here, but I like the different coloring. Now this costs a lot to paint. I have no doubt on that. This would probably take my wife months to get done. The anatomy is fantastic for Wolverine. You're gonna see that on both. Very bulky, very short, stocky. And like, look at the wrappings, the sculpt on the wrappings of his wrist, the beads. This is all sculpted, even the necklace right here. Just so well done, really phenomenal. The base, I love the base. I love the snow effect. I think it's sculpted well. I think that the things, the hidden Easter eggs, like these big arrows layered in. Tree looks nice. Where it's really money is his outfit. Look at this laced together, fully sculpted outfit. And this is money not only from the sculpt perspective, but Carlos just did an amazing job with the paint. Look at the fur that he has initially covering him, just like the wolf looks fantastic. The tools on the side, look at all of the detail here. Bones on the front. Like I said, I don't know what's better on this part, the sculpt or the paint, but it's both phenomenally done. And even on Wolverine, here you actually get to see some of the battle damage. The blood is fantastic, and it's fantastic on here, especially if you take the arrows out, like we saw earlier. Great anatomy. See the veins on there? And, you know, that's from the sculpt, and then Carlos just really highlighted it with the paint. Literally, there's so much on this, you could just look at it for hours. I know this is kind of a quick video. Look at how the shoes are laced up. They really knocked this out of the park, every part of that. The portraits are just not, are a little bit off, which is, like I said, maybe it's more the expression. Really impressed overall. All right, so sculpt. I think the anatomy and the outfit and the base are absolutely through the park. And I don't know if it's the sculpt on those portraits I talked about that I dislike, or more just the expressions. That's kind of hard for me to say. So honestly, on the portraits, I'd probably give the portraits like a 3.5 or a 4, but I'd give everything else a solid 5. So I think I'm going to land, because the portraits are really important, I think I'm going to land, I hate to give it a 4 just because the portraits. So I'm still going to give it a 5. I think it's phenomenally done, but I'm not a fan of some of these portraits as we talked about. Now, value-wise, so $900 for an unpainted kit. That's a lot. However, this is an incredibly rare statue. They're only making 35 of them, and I guess it all depends on your means to get it painted. So when you get an unpainted statue, a lot of times that's the only way they're offered as a kit. A lot of the other Wolverines I have, that Samurai was that way, that Logan Soldier was that way. If you're not sleeping with someone like I am, and that's my wife, not Carlos, who painted this, but although me and Carlos talk all the time, and I imagine one day if we met up, something might happen. But generally, especially for this pretty elaborate paint job, you're probably going to spend at least $1,000 on paint plus shipping. So this is going to cost you a minimum of $2,000 unless you have means to paint it yourself. That's so much money. Honestly, if these portraits were better, I think this would be touted as a grail. I don't think this is a grail. I think it's very close and very good. It's unique. There are some absolutely incredible things on here, but I think the value's still a 3 out of 5. Now, if it came painted for $1,500, I think the value would be a 4 or maybe a 5 out of 5. But I think the cost of painting just really hurts you, especially with the shipping back and forth. Now, as I said, there's still a few left. If you're interested, go ahead and email me. I'm not selling them, but I'll just forward you the information of the commissioner, who, by the way, I've been texting back and forth in between filming this, trying to see if I can keep this. So we'll see the price he has. I'm really scared what the price he's going to say. But you'll find out if I actually keep this one by subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell notification, because he'll probably go right below behind me, so you'll see him in future videos. But does he have the X Factor? Is this a 5 out of 5? You know, I didn't think this would be. The commissioner of this is a great supporter of the channel. I consider him a great virtual friend. We've done plenty of transactions with statues and other stuff before. He even sent me beer from the country he lives in once. Just very cool guy. And by the way, you're not supposed to ship that stuff. The post office stole one of the cases. I hope you fucking enjoyed it, you postal workers. I actually have family members who are mail carriers. It was probably them who stole it. But anyway, I think this is a 5 out of 5. This is absolutely fantastic. I jumped on board to buy it because it's a different kind and I wanted to support the commissioner. But damn, whether I get to keep this one or have Mrs. X paint one, I am very happy I got this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Throw that down. Again, if you're interested, email me, mrx@theextremechannel.com. I'll just forward you the information to him and he'll reach out to you. But I absolutely love this. Hopefully he shoots me a fair price. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. It costs you nothing. It's really easy to do. Talk to you soon. Check out some of these other videos. Take care.